Hi friends, I thought it would be fun to compare Natasha Denona's golden eyeshadow palette to Urban Decay's Honey. I forgot about Honey. My bad. When someone brought Honey up, I thought, yes, they are similar in color story. I will say this right now, and if you don't want to watch the rest of the video and just want to know the answer, I prefer Natasha Denona's Golden over Honey. Yes, that is a partial stance considering the fact that I have reviewed several Natasha Denona videos. My biased stance, no means, does not take away from Honey's outstanding performance. I think this is Urban Decay's one of their most beautifully made palettes alongside, well, Born to Run is like my ultimate Urban Decay palette. Let's be real. Heat though, Heat I think is second, Honey third, Born to Run first. And I also thought about Natasha's Bronze because when you look at both color stories, they're similar as well. It's the classic hot red with the plums, you know what I mean? Getting back to the golden comparison, the reason why I knew I would prefer Natasha Denona's eyeshadow palette over Urban Decay's was simply because of her formula. It is by far, in my opinion, better than Urban Decay's. Again, not to say Urban Decay's is trash. I think Honey is more straightforward in terms of formula, in terms of the shades and the undertones, as well as the finishes. There's pretty much only matte, metallic, and maybe a satin finish in Flyby. This is the light beige shade, more or less in that metallic category that mostly shows shiny. And in the footage here, I started with Keeper, which shows very much yellow orange on my lid and is a pretty color. I wouldn't categorize this as mustard, however. I think it leans more warm yellow if anything. On the other side, I wanted to see how Hive appeared because in my mind, in Golden, Aria and Teak are more of like those neutral sand colors, which I absolutely love. This definitely is more neutral, but I think warmer compared to Aria and Teak. And for the metallics, I thought to follow up with Amber from Honey. Amber definitely has more of like that orange copper tinge to it, and the pickup is amazing. You can see a smooth metallic application here. The shine is beautiful, and the consistency when I brushed against my lid, the pigment was there, okay? Full throttle, no skips, no spots. Then I wanted to see how Golden would appear. Considering that is Natasha's golden palette we're comparing it to, we had to use that shadow. Lovely color, great shine, and I think appropriate to be placed on my inner corner. And that's when I encountered the major difference for me. Well, one of the major differences between Honey and Golden was there wasn't a lighter highlighter shade. And I'm speaking from my skin tone perspective. If you are deeper than me, Golden, Honey, or even Amber can be suitable as a highlight shade for you. If you are my complexion within the medium tan category and lighter, the only highlighty colors you have in Honey is Flyby, and it's not shiny. It doesn't have any sparkle effect. It's just more of like a pearl. I can't quite classify it. I think it is a true matte without any pearl, but that's what you will have to use if wanting to create some type of light highlight effect on the brow bone or on the inner corner. Nevertheless, Golden still looked lovely on the inner corner, and on the second eye, I went in with HBIC, and you can't go wrong with a warm bronze shade, and it performs exactly like Amber. Great pickup with the brush, smooth lay down on the lid. For this inner corner, I wanted to go in with Honey because in the palette, it does appear more antique yellow, and I thought it will have more distinction between Golden. And again, great pickup, incredible shine. In terms of the smoking out, right, I wanted to see two shades in action. I decided to go in with Sting, which likens to Log, but Sting I think doesn't have the same impact as Log, what's found in Golden. It does give some smoke, but definitely not at the same intensity as you see here. I have Log on from Golden, but nevertheless, it created a little bit of smoke on the outer lid. And on the second eye, I decided to see Queen in action. Now, it is not a matte. It's more of a metallic, a little drier compared to the other metallic formulas in Honey. It has more pearly particles in there, not in the same way as Natasha formulates her wet effect shadows or even her sparkling foiled ones. It's more just of a drier metallic, and I decided to apply that on the outer lid just to see it in action, see what kind of shade it would take on when applied in that manner. And when you look at both eyes, they're beautiful. There was no question that I would enjoy Honey. I think it is a solid palette. It's easy to use. The mattes are smooth, easy to blend, and the metallic shades in here, I think quite diverse, where you have a range from copper leaning to more antique leaning, yellow gold. The more toasted brown bronze from Queen and HBIC is more of like, I guess I would say more rose gold leaning compared to something like amber. And there is some distinction between the mattes for sure. Keeper is a lot more yellow based than Hive. I didn't use Drip. Drip from Honey is giving more of a warmer beige, right? And I don't think nearly as warm as what's found here. Let's swatch Teak to see, you see what I mean? This is a little more neutral, and Aria will be lighter as well. And Hive, I think, let's see here. Hive still has a little more warmth to it. So I think overall, in terms of the mattes compared to Honey and Golden mattes, the Honey mattes are a little more yellow warm leaning than what's in Golden. For our Golden round, I started with Sandstone because I thought it would compare somewhat to Keeper. And to quickly swatch both, Sandstone definitely has more of like sort of a mustard leaning, but this is Keeper. Sorry, I'm so messy with these swatches. Look how orange that appears next to Sandstone. And this is just my preference. I much prefer the undertones in Golden because they're a little more sophisticated. Even though you have the yellow leaning metallics in here, because the mattes are more neutral, it anchors everything down and it doesn't appear as color rich. And that's not good or bad, right? I think it's just a matter of your preference. But when dealing with these types of shades, I like my mattes to be more neutral versus what's found in Honey with that more, it's almost giving me like a bronze feel, because bronze has those more yellow orange leaning undertone mattes, but Golden I think is the more neutral sand shades, more caramel shades, which I prefer in this context because I love bronze, but I need my yellow orange tones to be paired with the plummy eggplants and the hot reds, you know what I mean? On the second eye, I went in, I think it was Teak, to see how it would compare with Drip, or excuse me, Hive. And we saw from the swatches that Teak is definitely a little more neutral than what Hive is giving. I guess this is like I wouldn't say it's terracotta, but a warmer brown. Now with the lids, I decided to apply Oro because I wanted the more yellow leaning gold on the lid compared to what we used Amber from Honey. And you know, Natasha's metallics are just, if you haven't used them before, they are incredibly smooth, but have a tremendous amount of shine that is easy to use, easy to plop down. And another huge distinction that I already knew existed before I started filming this video and started applying these shadows is the sparkle factor. That there is no distinct sparkly arcly formula in Honey. The metallics are shiny, and you saw on the photos, my lids look shiny, they look gorgeous, but this formula here doesn't have that twinkle factor, and why I decided to plop on a little bit of Nubia on top of Oro. And my goodness, it's just a lovely overlay shade, whether you wear Nubia on its own or layer it on top of any of the shades in here. And what I mentioned before with Honey not including any lighter metallic shade for highlight, I of course went in with Aura, or I could have gone in with Fizzy or even Kava. So there are more options for my skin tone in having a highlighter that's more sparkly and reflective, which personally I like. I like a little more reflectivity on the inner corner. It doesn't have to be like that all the time, but look how beautiful Aura is just from here. And in any case, listen, if you still insist on using honey and you want a lighter highlighter shade, you plop on whatever highlighter you applied on your face. If you're like me and watching this video, you probably got a few highlighters that you use and that you love. We could multitask. For the second eye, I decided, I think it was Fizzy. I can't recall, my apologies. I just filmed this, what's wrong with you? I decided to go in with Fizzy on the entire lid because I just wanted to see it in action all by itself. I know, I can't stop staring because Fizzy's reflectivity and sparkle factor is outrageous. It's rude. I absolutely adore it, and you probably have noticed I used Bobo's brush from her Yoshiki collab. My goodness, I can't even find it. The fingertip brush, because it is designed deliberately to have this slant to mimic your fingertip in order to pick up these harder, drier textures that have to take on this formula or this consistency rather, so you're able to have the sparkle factor. Fine trade-off. I'll get the better brush. And then plopping on, I think it might have been Kava. Oh, Kava on the inner corner it looks wet. It's beyond shiny, okay? It looks just glazed. And then I had to go in with Log on the outer corner because Log, for the smokiness and just the ease of blend, I virtually tapped this shade on my outer lid and it found its way to where it needed to go. It found its way into the crevices of my lid fold and underneath and just looks blurred and diffused. Okay, whereas Sting, here's Sting, just so we can have a better idea. This is Sting, appears a little plummy, right? And then we have Log. Okay, I needed a little more body from a shade I'm relying on to create smoke on the outer corner, and that's exactly what Log did. I had wanted actually to go in with Varus because let's swatch Queen. Queen is the drier metallic, but drier meaning compared to the other metallics in honey, not so much that it's hard to deal with, hard to work with. This is Varus from Natasha Denona. You see there's more gold pearl in Queen, not much in Varus. This is more of a one-dimension bronze shade, which I love it for, because if I wanted to add dimension, I have the option with the several overlays, sparkling wet effect things going on in golden. All that to say, you most certainly can create golden-like looks with honey if you already own this palette. If you still want golden, is permanent, is not going anywhere. I know it's still the summertime, but before you know it, the sale stuff is going to come through. I think we might be seeing end of summer sale things from Natasha Denona. I don't recall. When's the next Sephora sales event, friends? Is that October? I can't remember. If you still want the palette, hold off on it. See how you feel. If you're still thinking about it after August, okay, you can get it. But hopefully this video helped in quelling your FOMO. If you have honey, but you wanted to see golden, how they compare, do you really need golden? You don't, right? If you're happy with honey and the looks it provides for you, there's no need to get golden. Personally, I would go with golden because if you love the sparkly arc leaf, if you want a little more diversity in the finishes, where you are getting matte, you are getting sparkly, but you also are getting metallic. Again, there's more option in golden in terms of the formula, although some people would argue it's more monochromatic, there's not much distinction. I personally don't mind that aspect, and I think it's one of golden's strengths that is easy to use. You don't have to think much. No matter what you pair what with, it's going to be beautiful. I would say, and I have said in my initial review and just speaking about golden thereafter, I would limit the use of mattes in terms of how many you use at once on one eye. Just use teak, just use sandstone, just use flesh, instead of mixing flesh and teak or teak and aria. That's when it can muddy up. right? Because if you haven't tried use Natasha Denona mattes before, they pack a punch. You don't have to load up your brush with product. You just tap and let it rip. It will be fine. When you start layering mattes with similar undertones, that's when it gets muddy and appears heavy on the eyes. And what I personally experienced when I used Natasha's original gold palette that released years ago, and why I didn't like it, I felt it was meh, it was user error. Now that I had that experience, I had a different lens on in terms of blending technique and approach when using golden. I was ahead of the game. All right, and why I prefer the undertones for the golden matte. And again, to have these sparkle factor shadows in here, to have the lighter highlight shade. If you don't have either, if it's in the budget, okay, is Urban Decay's Honey still available? I don't even know. If I had to pick between the two, like I had said at the beginning of the video, thank you for making it this far, I would pick golden. I would pick golden just from an aesthetic point of view. This is giving a little bit teen, right? Limited to Delia's. This is a little more sophisticated by a high degree. And again, from what's inside, I personally prefer what's in golden formula-wise over what's in honey. Again, does not take away Honey's reliability and solid performance. Honey is not a trash palette. It's one of Urban Decay's best. If you have it already and are satisfied with what it has been doing, how it has contributed to your makeup life, conversation's over. I hope this helped, family. And I also want to film a few other videos. What's on the queue? Well, I need to film my revamped Natasha so many swatches top 5 mini. I also want to get more into tutorial mode because I underwent a huge declutter. And let me tell you, the amount of stuff I got rid of, threw away, process of donating was immense. So much so that in feeling lighter and less burdened, I also realized how much money I wasted in buying all this makeup that I ended up having to give away or even throw away when it just went bad. No one could use it anymore. And I'm saying this because there are few makeup products that are on my radar, like the new Hourglass liquid blush. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to add anything more, okay? I'm tired of the buying. So I would like to get more tutorial, maybe want to get into old OGs that are still savage in terms of performance, how to pick Fude for face and eye. And yeah, let me know what your ideas are down below. I'll see you in those comments. And until then, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I will see you on here again with another review tutorial, Natasha Denona video, or maybe my top 5 Suku blushes. That's another idea. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.